Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vermont State Representative Ashley Bartley.
Hello, Vermont. I said, hello, Vermont. Much better. Before we start, I want to say we're going to have a great time. We're going to have the best time. There might be some protesters in here. That's okay. They have that right. But if they're going to do it, I'm going to ask you to do it outside. Let's respect everybody. I cannot tell you what a wonderful day it is to welcome Governor, Ambassador, and our future President, Nikki Haley, to our beloved state. I stand before you, not just as an individual, but as a unified force. We come from diverse backgrounds. We have farmers, brewers, mothers, fathers, Republicans, Independents, Democrats. We all gather here today because we demand more from the highest office in our country. We demand a future brimming with opportunity, not one impaired by chaos. We deserve a democracy that uplifts our citizens rather than tearing down opponents with petty insults and divisive rhetoric. For those of you who personally know me, you may be familiar with our family motto, you have to leave it on the field. Ambassador Haley has exemplified this mindset every step of her journey, from her candidacy announcement over a year ago, to every debate, every town hall, and now here today in Vermont. Nikki Haley has left it all on the field. Like a true Vermonter, she embodies hard work, resilience, and unwavering dedication. Can we get a round of applause for that? Many of us are here today because we feel our voice has been drowned out since 2016. It's been 8 long years, and we're ready to reclaim our voices, and we want to make sure they are heard. Are they going to be heard? So why am I here? Because I believe that a less intrusive governance is effective governance. I believe in collaboration as a cornerstone of success. This isn't about labels, liberal, moderate, conservative, or even MAGA. This is about what's best for our nation here and now. At this pivotal moment, I choose leadership and cooperation over chaos and deception. I choose a future built on solid principles rather than endless legal battles. If Washington could learn anything from Vermont, it's our commitment to civil discourse and listening to diverse perspectives. Perhaps Donald Trump could take a few notes from Vermonters and engage in meaningful debate. As a Vermont Republican, I stand with those whose voices have been stifled for too long. Today, we reject the politics of division and embrace a vision of unity and progress. For almost 2 decades, we've witnessed the ups and the downs of different administrations. This will be the 5th presidential election that either Joe Biden or Donald Trump will have been on the ticket. As we stand on the cusp of 2014, are we ready to finally acknowledge that the majority of Americans, not just Vermonters, are weary of the Biden-Trump era? 2024. Thank you. And I know I am, and I know Vermonters are too. My support for Nikki Haley transcends gender. As a mother, I understand the importance of securing a promising future for our children. Consider the world we want to pass on. What legacy do we want to leave them with? What image do we want America to project into the world? Vermont, let's stand on the right side of history. Let's make history. So, there's less than 24 hours left. Let's reject chaos, let's reject hatred, and embrace leadership and democracy in action. Let's propel Nikki Haley across the finish line as we all cast our ballots on Tuesday. Now, it is with great pleasure and great honor that I introduce the most popular governor in our nation, Phil Scott.
Good afternoon. This is an incredible crowd. You know, I was telling Nikki behind the curtains here that I couldn't attract this many people. Unless, of course, it was on a Thursday night at Thunder Road. But this comes close. It's great to see so many familiar faces here as well. I think about that a lot when I look across the crowd. And I see people that I've encountered over the last probably 20 years of my political life, and it transcends across party affiliation. So I really do thank you for coming as we welcome Nikki to Vermont. It's always special when presidential candidates visit our state, so I want to thank Governor Haley for coming. It means a lot that she values our great little state. You know, This election is about more than just picking our leader. It's about who we're going to be as people. Because the fact is, our country is hurting. After years of controversy, toxic rhetoric, and the ever-growing polarization and division, the last thing we need is 4 more years of Donald Trump. Americans deserve leaders with character and integrity who respect the rule of law, the rights of all people, and most importantly, the Constitution. Regardless of any one issue, this is essential in restoring our faith, and here's the key word, trust in government. And I know I'm not alone when I say I've never been more concerned about our country than I am today. I was in Washington, D.C. last week at an NGA conference with governors on both sides of the aisle. And we heard from the well-respected pollster, Frank Luntz. He's been doing this polling for 35 years. You've probably seen him on Fox or CNN. And he really shed some light on the trends I think we're all seeing and feeling with his data. Here's a few things he said. Never before have people been more fearful about our country's future. In fact, his data shows 83% think our country is more divided than ever. 75% of Americans are just plain mad as hell, that's his words, and have stopped listening altogether. Don't want anything to do with it. About 1/2 of Americans have ended a friendship or stopped talking to a family member over politics. I've experienced that myself. Things have become so toxic and tribal in this country that the sentiment is you're either with me or against me. You're either on my team or off the team. Nothing in between. And it doesn't matter if it's childhood friends, brothers, sisters, parents, uncles, or cousins. Healthy, respectful debate makes us stronger. But if we're at a point when political disagreements end those important bonds we have with one another, we know we've got a problem, especially because it's so widespread. This is the reality we face today and should sound the alarm for each and every one of us. Now, we have to be honest. Both sides of the aisle contributed to this. No one is blameless. And the far left has certainly done more than its fair share of damage. But in my opinion, there's no one less equipped, no one more incapable of healing the huge divide we have in this country than Donald Trump. He's made a career of throwing fuel on the fire of hate and anger. He had a TV reality show that made a ton of money off this type of thing. Now, I believe we're all born with a gift. The trick is always to find it. But he certainly found his. What we're in desperate need of today are proven public servants with integrity and the right temperament to inspire and lead, not divide and conquer. So whether you're a Republican or one of the many independents, moderates, and Democrats who supported me over the years, don't sit this primary out. If you want to help stop Donald Trump, please show up on Tuesday. Take a Republican ballot and vote for Nikki Haley. There's way too much at stake to just watch from the sidelines. Governor Haley has a proven track record of strong fiscal discipline, looking out for taxpayers and the small businesses that fuel our economy, and she delivered results. She was also an accountant for her family business, so she knows how to balance a budget, balance a checkbook, and set clear priorities. She believes in Ronald Reagan's vision of America as a shining city on a hill. She also believes we need to continue to hold the mantle as the leader of the free world and defend the values we hold so dear, both here at home and abroad. Let me leave you with one more statistic from Frank Luntz. The question was, who do Americans trust most? For the answers, I'll start at the bottom, work my way back up. Number 5, the least trusted. It's going to be a shocker to many of you. Congress. Number 4, state legislators. Sorry, my friends. I'm really sorry. I didn't do it. I would have put you like at the top. Number 3, the president. Number 2, mayors across the country, by the way. And at the very top of the list, number 1 was governors. Governor Douglas, you're going to agree with this, right? So you'll notice I've been saying Governor Haley rather than Ambassador Haley, and this is why. I've always believed the job of governor best prepares someone to become president. Ronald Reagan was a governor. Our very own Calvin Coolidge was a governor. Albeit of a different state. We'll forgive him, right? Both went on to be great, great presidents. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about Washington, all I see is dysfunction, a lot of ego, and an incredible, incredible lack of civility and respect. But I know in my heart, we can do better. And governors know how to get things done. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Governor Nikki Haley.
By the record machine, I knew he must have been about 17. He was running strong, playing my favorite song.
What a great crowd. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you for everybody in the overflow. Oh, it's great to see all of you. Thank you so much. I want to thank Ashley thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for joining us. We're incredibly grateful. And Governor, I know why people trust you. I really, really do. To watch your leadership and to watch the way you communicate with the people of Vermont and the way you lead is something that I am proud of, and I know all the people of Vermont are very proud of. So thank you very, very much. So we're thrilled to be here in Vermont. You know, it's been a little over a year since I announced I was running for president. We had 14 people in the race. We defeated a dozen of the fellas. I just have one more I'm trying to catch up to. And you know, you look at the state of our country, and this is tough. You don't have to turn on the news to see it. We feel it. We feel it at the grocery store. We feel it with our utility payments. We feel the fact that our dollars are not stretching as far. We are $34 trillion in debt. We're having to borrow money just to make our interest payments. China owns some of that debt. For the first time, we're paying more in interest payments than we are in our defense budget. You know who's paying attention to that? Russia, China, and Iran. And this is not just Joe Biden that has done this to us. I have always spoken in hard truths, and I'm going to do that with you today. Donald Trump and our Republicans did that to us too. You go back and look at that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill that they passed with no accountability. They expanded welfare that's now left us with 80 million Americans on Medicaid, 42 million Americans on food stamps. That's a third of our country. And did Republicans try and make it right? Nope. They opened up pet projects and earmarks for the first time in 10 years, pushing through 7,000 of them last year. All while 1 in 6 American families can't afford their utility bill. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of American families can't afford diapers. Don't you think it's finally time we had an accountant in the White House? So how would this accountant go about fixing the economy? The first thing we do is we claw back that $100 billion of unspent COVID dollars that are still sitting out there. Instead of 87,000 IRS agents going after middle America, let's go after the hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID fraud. 1 out of every $7 was spent fraudulently. If 8% of our budget is interest, quit borrowing. Cut up the credit cards. You have to balance a budget every day. I had to balance a budget as governor. Why is Congress the only group that refuses to balance a budget? We'll stop. Go ahead. I'll let you do that. We'll stop the spending. We'll stop the borrowing. We'll eliminate their pet projects. And I will veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels. That will save us trillions. Then we will take as many federal programs as we can and send them down to the state level. That will dramatically reduce the size of the federal government, but it will empower people on the ground. Think education, think health care, think welfare, think mental health. If we cut the strings and send it down to the states where your governor and legislature could decide how to spend it, it's better handled by them and you than it is by some Washington bureaucrats. And then we need to open up the middle class. We're watching the rich get richer.
Blood is on your hands. Every group that's over you in the future. You are empty. You have
You know, I will say this. Don't get upset at people like that, because my husband and his... Okay, anybody else? While we're at it, just get it out. Anybody else? You know what what I will tell you, what I was trying to say is, don't get upset at protesters when they do that, because my husband and his military brothers and sisters sacrifice every day for their right to be able to do that. We are blessed to live in America. So we said we wanted to cut taxes for the middle class. We want to eliminate the federal gas and diesel tax in this country, and we want small business tax cuts to be permanent. Small businesses are the heartbeat of our economy. We need to start acting like it. And you know, speaking of Congress, they have one job, just one job, and it's to give us a budget on time. Well, turn on the news, they failed again. Do you know Congress has only given us a budget on time 4 times in 40 years? 4 times in 40 years. You know what I say about that? You don't give us a budget on time, you don't get paid, period. Don't you think it's finally time we had term limits in Washington, D.C.? Don't you think we need to have mental competency tests for anyone over the age of 75? And I want to say this. I'm not being disrespectful when I say that. We all know people over 75 that can run circles around us. And then we know Joe Biden. Congress has become the most privileged nursing home in the country. This is nothing to play with. These are people making decisions on the future of our economy. These are people making decisions on our national security. We need to know they're at the top of their game. And then let's talk about the border. I can't believe this is the United States of America. 9 million illegal immigrants have come across the border. Y'all are dealing with this as well, up on the northern border. 9 million. We had enough fentanyl cross the border last year that would kill every single American. Number 1 cause of death for adults 18 to 45? Fentanyl. And don't think for a second China doesn't know what they're doing when they send it over. Now, when I was governor of South Carolina, we passed the toughest illegal immigration law in the country. President Obama sued us over it, and we won. I want to take what we did in South Carolina and go national with it. We need to do a national E-Verify program where every business has to prove that the people they hire are in this country legally. God bless America. We want to make sure we defund sanctuary cities once and for all. No more safe havens. We can't do it anymore. We need 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground, and we need to let them do their job. We need to go back to the Remain in Mexico policy so that no one steps foot on U.S. soil. And instead of catch and release, we need to go to catch and deport. That is what will stop what's happening on the border. And look at what happened a couple of weeks ago. Congress had a border bill. And the good part about that border bill was it strengthened asylum laws. We have to do that because 3 million illegal immigrants came in under Trump because we didn't have strong enough asylum laws. The weak part about that bill was it didn't have a Remain in Mexico policy. We need to have that. And it had a 5,000 person threshold. We can't even have a 1 person threshold. We're a country of laws. The problem is what Congress should have done was gotten in a room and not come out until they strengthened the bill and got it done. But Donald Trump told them not to pass anything until after the general election because it would hurt him. We can't wait one more day for them to secure that border and get this finalized. Congress needs to get in a room and figure it out and do that for the American people, and Trump needs to stay out of it, period. And you know, growing up in rural South Carolina, my parents always taught me, you take care of those who take care of you. I'm going to ask you if we're taking care of those who take care of us. Right now in America, over 35,000 of our veterans are homeless. 1 in 3 suffers from PTSD or thoughts of suicide. We lose 22 heroes a day to suicide. If a veteran needs a doctor's appointment at the VA, on average, it takes 29 days. Why 29 days? Because on the 30th day, they can go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. So midway through the 29 days, they get a call to reschedule. It's shameful how we treat our veterans. Now, I'm the proud wife of a combat veteran who served in Afghanistan. And when Michael came home to us, that was a lot of prayers answered. But that was the easy part. When we got home, life got hard. Michael couldn't hear loud noises. He couldn't be in crowds. Life had passed him by for the year that he was gone, and the transition was tough. We can't just love our men and women when they're gone. We got to love them when they come back home, too. We need to do more than just the 2-week transition. We need to take care of them for the long haul. And the way we do that is let's have telehealth so they can get the mental health care they need right when they need it. Let's make sure they go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. They've earned that right. And I think the best way we go about dealing with the VA health care, I think every member of Congress should have to get their health care from the VA, and you watch how fast that gets fixed. It'll be the best health care we've ever seen, guaranteed. And now let's talk about national security. The world is on fire, literally. We've got a war in Europe. We've got a war in the Middle East. We've got North Korea testing intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of hitting the U.S. We've got China doing cyber attacks on our infrastructure. And now we have Russia blinding satellites, so we can't see what they're doing. But make no mistake, none of this would have happened had we not had that debacle in Afghanistan. The idea that Michael and his military brothers and sisters who served there had to watch us leave Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that said to our friends. More importantly, think about what that said to our enemies. Now more than ever, we have got to have a leader with moral clarity. We have to have a leader that knows the difference between right and wrong and good and bad. And this is a time where we need to have leaders whose number one focus is to prevent war. Period. That's what we're... She's almost gone. And this is why that matters, is when you see all of this happening, we need leaders who are going to over-communicate with you, to tell you why we should care about Ukraine, why we care about Israel, why we're worried about North Korea, all these things that are happening. Because when you don't over-communicate to the American people, then you have people who don't understand what's happening or why we're doing it. And that's what we're seeing. But then you also have to have a leader who really does know the difference between right and wrong. 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump said that he would encourage Putin to invade our allies. Now think about that. Trump's going to side with a dictator who kills his political opponents. Trump's saying he's going to side with a thug where 500,000 people have been wounded or killed because Putin invaded Ukraine. Trump's saying he's going to side with a madman who arrests American journalists and holds them hostage. And Trump's going to side with Putin, who's made no bones about the fact that he wants to destroy America. And he's going to side with him over the allies that stood with us after 9/11? In that moment when he went off the teleprompter, what he did was he made our allies more vulnerable, he emboldened Putin, and he put our military members who were serving there in danger. That's what I'm talking about when I say we need a leader who understands their number one job is not to walk away. Joe Biden's putting his head in the sand, acting like nothing exists. Donald Trump's thinking we don't need friends. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends. We should grow our alliances. Our enemies are fearful of our alliances. You grow them, you make them stronger, and that's what keeps them at bay. But look, we know what we need to do with our national security. We know what we need to do with our domestic policy. Now let's talk about what you need to do on Tuesday. This is a choice between whether we want more of the same or whether we want to go in a new direction. More of the same is not just Joe Biden. More of the same is Donald Trump. A couple of months ago, if you go back just a couple of months, they said that I was going to lose New Hampshire by 35 points. We ended up getting 43% of the vote in New Hampshire. And that night, if you saw it, Donald Trump was unhinged. He pitched a fit on stage and went on and on about revenge and my dress. The next day, he goes and says anyone who supports her is barred permanently from MAGA. Now think about that. If you're running for president, your job is to bring people into the fold, not push people out of your club. Then the next day, he goes and he tries to push the RNC to name him the presumptive nominee. Now, we don't anoint kings in America. We have elections, and people have the right to vote. And then he had a couple of judgments that were against him, and he talked about being a victim. Now, the part that bothers me, whether it was the night of New Hampshire, whether it's after these court cases, is at no point did he ever talk about the American people. At no point did he talk about the fact that we're $34 trillion in debt. At no point did he talk about the fact that only 31% of eighth graders in our country are proficient in reading. At no point did he talk about the borders that are completely open. At no point did he talk about the lawlessness in our cities. At no point did he talk about the wars around the world. All he did was talk about himself. And that's the problem. This is not about him. It's about the American people. And this is also about the direction of where we want to go in the Republican Party, but in the country. No one is talking about fiscal discipline. I believe that we need smaller government. I believe we need economic freedom. I believe that we need more money in people's pockets and not in the government dime. I believe that we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to pay down that debt. But what does Donald Trump believe? Don't listen to him. Look at what he did. He put us $8 trillion in debt in just 4 years. $8 trillion. That's more than any other president. And he'll say that's because of COVID. That was less than 20%. I want to shrink government. He grew government. I want to clean the politics out of our agencies. He let it go and fester. We can't keep going in that direction. We're going off a fiscal cliff. And then you go and you look at the national security side. I think we need to have peace through strength. We've always done that. He wants to go and be an isolationist and not focus on anything. You do that, that pushes us further in more. But then even look at what's happened with the RNC party operation itself. Now he's putting his daughter-in-law as head. He's having his campaign manager run it. Instead of winning races up and down the ticket, now they're saying that it's only about Donald Trump. Well, he put $60 million of his own campaign contributions towards his personal court cases. Now, if he does this, that's going to be his own legal slush fund. So this isn't about the Republican Party, because the Republican Party I knew and that I believe in is one of smaller government and limited control and freedom. His is one that is more about control, and he's making the party all about him. And then I saw he tweeted a couple of days ago, we had a big crowd in D.C., and he tweeted and he said, anybody that helps her or supports her will not have access to me. You can't threaten people, and you can't push them away. And that goes to the heart of the fact of why he can't win. He has not gotten 40% in any of the early states. In Michigan, he campaigned for 8 years. I campaigned for 2 days and got 30% of the vote. Something has to give. We can't keep living in this chaos. We can't be a country in disarray and a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We won't survive it. And look at the general election polls. In every one of those polls, it's going to be a nail-biter between Donald Trump and Joe Biden again. I'm in every one of those polls, and I defeat Joe Biden by 18 points. Do you know what that means? You win by double digits. That's a mandate going into D.C. to stop the wasteful spending and get our economy back on track. That's a mandate to get our kids reading again and go back to the basics in education. That's a mandate to secure our borders with no more excuses. That's a mandate to bring law and order back to our cities. And that's a mandate for a strong America that prevents wars that we can all be proud of. Don't you want that? Because we could have that. But in order to have that, it's going to take a lot of courage. Courage from everyone here. Courage for me to run. And courage for every one of you to know. Don't complain about what happens in a general election if you don't vote in this primary. It matters. You know, 8 months ago, I dropped my husband Michael off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. And I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they'd never been, all in the name of protecting America. They're willing to sacrifice their lives and their families because they still believe in this amazing experiment that is America. So if they're willing to sacrifice for us there, shouldn't we be willing to fight for America here? because we have a country to save. You know, the media has been like all over themselves trying to figure out why I'm not getting out of this race. Why does she keep fighting? What's she doing? Well, first of all, when 70% of Americans say they don't want Donald Trump or Joe Biden, yes, I'm going to keep on fighting. I think I've thrown out the idea that they think I'm running for vice president. That's not happening. If this was about my political career, I would have been out a long time ago. The reason I'm doing this is for my kids and your kids and grandkids. Look at the younger generation. Look at what they've been through. They went through COVID, which was traumatic. Now they're worried. They know that $34 trillion in debt falls on them. They don't know what that responsibility is going to look like. They don't know how they're going to get a job. They don't know how they're going to make ends meet. They don't think they'll ever own a home. And then they're worried about the wars around the world. And all of that is happening under an umbrella of anger and division. And then we want to know why there's so much anxiety, stress, and depression? Our kids deserve to know what normal feels like. Under Joe Biden, it is not normal to have millions of illegal immigrants coming across the border and nobody stopping them. It's not normal to have these wars around the world. But under Donald Trump, it's not normal to go and mock members of the military. It's not normal to go and pay campaign contributions for personal court cases. It's not normal to side with a tyrant over our allies. It's not normal that Joe Biden calls his opponents fascists and that Donald Trump calls his opponents vermin. None of that is normal. None of it is. Can you imagine a country where we could sit down at the dinner table and not have a political fight? Can you imagine a country where you could go to work and say something and not worry about being demoted? Can you imagine a country where we could strongly disagree and not hate each other over it? We are better than this. That's where we're trying to go. This is about making sure we become the America that we know and love, the one that's built on values, the one that's about faith, family, and freedom. That's who we are at the end of the day. That's what we want to be. That's what our kids deserve to know. But in order to do that, we really have to get back to what's real. You know, they asked me why I was doing this when I first announced, and I said, my parents came here 50 years ago to an America that was strong and proud and full of opportunities. I want them to know that country again. I'm doing this for... I'm doing this for Michael and his military brothers and sisters. They need to know their sacrifice matters. They need to know that we love our country. I'm doing this for my daughter who just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. The average home buyer in America now is 49 years old. The American dream is leaving them. And I'm doing this for my son, who's a senior in college, and I am tired of watching him write papers of things he doesn't believe in just to get an A. That's not us. That's not America. And for the first time, 81% of Americans don't think their kids are going to have as good of a life as we did. We can't be okay with that. I'm not okay with that. We do have a country to save. But now's the way we save her. I need you to go Tuesday and vote. I need you to take 10 people with you to vote. You all know people in your friends, family that are just general election voters. I want you to send them a message for me. In a general election, we're given a choice. In a primary, we make our choice. This is the time to make our choice. Go tell your friends and family, text them, email them, tell them the importance of voting. Take a yard sign. If you can't have a yard sign in your yard, put it in the back of your car. Make sure that you tell everybody that we know here in Vermont, I know you know how to use the power of your voice. I know that you know what it means to go to the polls, and I know you know that there's a lot on the line. And if you will join me, he wasn't even energetic about it. So this is the part we want. We need you to get out to the polls. We need you to do your part. And this is what I promise you. If you join us in this movement, if you join us in this fight, I promise you, our best days are yet to come. God bless you. Thank you, Vermont. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.